Welcome to our latest project, the Ferrari F12, that we're doing for Connolly Leathers. This is going to be a fantastic project, and over the next few videos we're going to talk you through the process and some of the challenges we come across whilst working on this car. Let's have a look at the car with the interior removed, and we can start having a look at some of the things we're going to be trimming on this vehicle. So as you can see, there's not a lot of trim left in here. We're leaving the dashboard and the carpets as they are, but everything else is going to be retrimmed, refitted, and in some cases modified to the customer's requirements. There is an awful lot of electronics as it's a modern car, sensors, clips, all sorts of bits and pieces that we've had to negotiate as we remove the interior from this car. There's a lot of sound deadening, a lot of brackets, things like that you just wouldn't find in some of the classic cars that we're used to working on. This is definitely one of the bigger projects we've had on a new car. So we've learned a lot about how Ferrari put these newer vehicles together. It's very, very different from the older cars. A lot more panel clips, less screws, and less things glued to the car.
So here we were just stripping off the old panel, taking the old cover off, ready to be all cleaned up, prepped and retrimmed afterwards in the new material. Tend to use a little bit of heat to soften the glues, and it just makes the material come off a lot easier and prevent kind of breaking the panel and damaging it. It's quite good to have the cover in as good condition as possible for reference and make sure it all goes back as it should.
Let's have a look at one of the seats from the F12. So as you can see, this seat is done with Alcantara and leather. The customer would like to go for a full leather seat. We might do some interesting design in the centre, but we're still in discussions with him on that one. So stay tuned to see what we end up doing there. This original seat has got a mixture of perforated Alcantara, plain Alcantara and leather. It's got the twin stitching on the outside and the Ferrari emblem embroidered in the headrest.
So now this will all be stripped back and cleaned off, so all the glue, all the old pieces of material that's sort of stuck to it, and we'll be sort of wanting a finish, nice clean smooth finish like this piece here. Next hour or so I'll be cleaning and prepping this off, but nothing too exciting, so I won't bore you with that. But yeah, if you wanted to pop back in an hour or so and see how I've got on.
So we're upstairs in the workshop now, and on these two workbenches we've got some of the panels laid out from the F12. This panel is a great example of classic and modern techniques differing. This is a soft touch panel, and because of the shape, the leathers had to be glued to the foam. If we'd done that on a classic car, the type of foams they used, you'd leave dimples every time you touched it. Modern foams, modern adhesives allow us to glue this down, and you can touch it and it just comes back to its original form. If we move that panel to the side, you can then see in here there's anti-squeak, anti-rattle tape has been placed all over the interior parts of this car. There's also, in certain areas, a liquid that's been applied that forms a skin to stop that squeaking. I mean, that is really quite slippery. This panel here also has an airbag in it. This seam along here is held together with a special thread that's designed to break in the event the airbag needs to go off, allowing the airbag to do its job properly. This panel here is going to present one of the bigger challenges of the panels in this car. This area here has got multiple compound curves that we're going to have to overcome. This would have been trimmed in a vacuum bag rather than by hand, meaning that this would have been placed on a jig on a table, and then a rubber bag would have come over the top. The air would have been removed and it would have pulled the leather tight round here, much tighter than we can do by hand. So you'll have to stay tuned to see how we get around that bit. There's a huge amount of panels in this car, an awful lot more than you would have found in a classic Ferrari. You know, the modern car, every single piece of trim is a panel, opposed to something that might have been trimmed onto the shell of the car. But we'll show you some more of that in other videos.
So we just finished prepping and cleaning this panel up, ready to trim. Taking all the old glue off and the bits of material we'd left behind. It's quite important to keep it nice and smooth as we're trimming sort of directly over the panel. You don't want any debris under there, any lumps or bumps that will be shown through the material.
So today we've shown you the interior being removed, talked you through some of the panels and the challenges we're going to face. You've seen a bit of the car being stripped down and starting to look at how we're going to trim it. But tune in next time to see some of the trim being done, the leather going in, and how this project progresses over the next 2 or 3 months.